What if the truth that scares you the most is the one that will finally set you free? In a world full of comforting lies, the courage to hear the truth becomes your greatest superpower. This isn't a motivational speech. This is a reality check, and it might just transform your entire mindset. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. James A. Garfield once said that, and he was right. Truth can be a blade, sharp, cold, and unrelenting, but it is not the enemy. We don't suffer because the truth is too cruel, but because we haven't built the strength to face it. In an age of sugar-coated words and beautifully packaged delusions, truth has become something to hide, blur, or avoid. But Stoic philosophy doesn't allow that. Stoicism teaches us to love the truth even when it hurts, because only when we look truth in the eye do we begin to live freely and with intention. Today, I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear, even if it unsettles you, even if it makes you angry. But if you have the courage to listen, every word that follows could be the beginning of a version of you that's stronger and steadier than you ever imagined. 1. No one owes you anything. Life doesn't sign a contract with you. It doesn't promise fairness. It doesn't commit to treating you kindly. And most importantly, no one, not even the world, owes you anything. No one owes you your dream job. No one owes you complete love. No one owes you recognition, empathy, or opportunity. As long as you believe others are supposed to give you something, you will remain stuck in disappointment, anger, and resentment. But the moment you let go of expectations, you begin to live freely. Epictetus, a man who lived much of his life as a slave, once said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do." He didn't say that from a classroom podium, but from the harsh reality of life. What emphasized is this: you don't control circumstances, but you can control your mindset in the face of them. When you stop forcing your personal will onto the world, you no longer see yourself as a victim of fate. Instead, you become the observer, the adapter, the one who owns their reaction. That's not weakness, it's a powerful way of living, because only when you stop demanding can you begin creating. Only when you stop complaining about what you didn't get, can you start focusing on what you can give. Frida Kahlo didn't wait for the world to treat her fairly. She was born into political instability in Mexico, contracted polio as a child, and later suffered a severe bus accident that damaged her spine irreparably. For the rest of her life, she lived in chronic physical pain, but Frida didn't let pain define her. She didn't sit in bitterness, nor did she wait for sympathy. Instead, she picked up a brush and began to paint with raw emotion, with wounds that hadn't healed. Frida's paintings weren't beautiful by conventional standards, but they were vivid, fierce, and unapologetically alive. She didn't ask for recognition, and that's precisely why she became an icon. Frida taught us that only when you stop demanding kindness from life can you begin to live freely. No one owes you ease, but you always have the right to turn pain into art or into whatever you choose. It simply means this: you cannot expect the world to bend to your will, and you don't need it to in order to live a life of value. Because if your sense of worth depends on others, you've handed them the reins to your life. But if you live with reason, intention, and independence, then you no longer need life to hand you anything, because you already stand on your own feet. This truth might sting. No one owes you anything, but that's exactly why you can be free. Free from expectations, free from the grip of disappointment, and free to live your truth without needing anyone's permission. That's not coldness, that's freedom. 2. Your emotions are your responsibility. We often believe that emotions come from outside, that someone hurt us, made us angry, or caused our disappointment. But that's an illusion. Stoicism teaches us a hard truth. Your emotions are your responsibility. No one can push your internal buttons unless you allow it. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and philosopher, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That quote holds a deep truth. You can't control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. And when you truly gain mastery over your mind, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You become sovereign. This isn't a call to become emotionless. Stoic philosophy urges you to understand your emotions, then rise above them. It's a higher state of awareness where you observe emotions like waves, but don't let them carry you away. When someone criticizes you, your first instinct might be to lash out, defend yourself, or withdraw in hurt. But a Stoic practitioner will pause, take a breath and ask, is this really worth reacting to? Is there any truth in their words I need to face? What offends you isn't the statement, it's your interpretation of it. Change the interpretation and you change the power of the emotion. This takes discipline, but the reward is freedom. A person no longer ruled by emotion is a person who cannot be controlled. No more anger over pointless comments, no more worrying about how others see you, no more collapsing over minor failures. Of course, you'll still feel disappointment, hurt, and anger, but instead of letting those emotions dictate your behavior, you learn to let them pass like clouds drifting across the sky. You are not the anger, you are the one experiencing it. When you fully take ownership of your emotions, you begin to step into a stronger, calmer version of yourself, not cold, clear. And it's that clarity that will carry you further than any fleeting feeling. But if you think mastering your emotions is the hard part, the next truth might be even tougher to accept. You will die, and possibly sooner than you expect. In the next part, we'll face the truth most people avoid, death. Not to fear it, but to learn how to live as if every moment were your last gift. And that's where Stoicism reveals its deepest beauty. 3. You will die, probably sooner than you think. Seneca used to write farewell letters to his friends every time he left Rome, even for the shortest trips. Not because he was weak or sentimental, but because he understood a simple truth we often forget: every meeting could be the last. To him, death wasn't some shadow to be feared, it was a plain fact and the most powerful silent reminder. Our time is not infinite. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of memento mori, remember that you will die, that is not a grim declaration. It's the hourglass quietly ticking, urging you to live more deliberately, more deeply. Death, to the Stoics, is not the enemy. The real tragedy is moving through a day without truly living. It's missing the moments that could have touched someone's heart or helped you touch the truest part of yourself. Most of us live as if we'll never die. We delay apologies. We delay our dreams. We delay being kind to our parents. We even delay forgiving ourselves. We think we have time, but none of us has a contract with tomorrow. And that truth, painful as it is, the key to living fully. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Think carefully about that. If you could leave life right now, would you keep scrolling mindlessly on your phone? Would you still put off calling that loved one you haven't spoken to in years? Would you still beat yourself up over a failure from last year?" Marcus wasn't trying to scare anyone. He was reminding us of something basic: death is coming. And that's exactly why you must live more deeply, not more fearfully. The presence of death doesn't diminish life's value. It heightens the value of every moment. But be careful. Living as if today were your last doesn't mean burning everything down in some blind rush of excitement. That's not freedom. That's recklessness. The Stoics didn't live carelessly. They lived with intention. They chose every word, every action, every decision because they knew each day was a chance to live in alignment with their highest self. You will die maybe sooner than you think. That's not terrifying. What's terrifying is knowing this and still living as if you were immortal. Memento mori doesn't demand that you change your entire life overnight. It just asks that you wake up one day at a time, because nothing lasts forever, and that's exactly what makes everything so precious. 4. You don't control outcomes, only your actions. Most of human suffering doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from doing so much and still not getting what we want. We try, we hope, we give it everything we have. But when the results don't meet our expectations, we collapse. We blame fate, other people, and even ourselves. That is the tragedy of a mind attached to something it cannot control. Stoicism doesn't forbid dreaming, nor does it tell you to give up. It teaches you one core principle: the outcome is not your responsibility. Right action is when you let go of the obsession with results. You begin to live in peace. You work because it's the right thing to do, not because someone has to applaud you. You train because you respect yourself, not to win approval. And when failure comes, you don't fall apart. You learn and you keep going. Think of Simone Biles, the legendary American gymnast. She was the golden hope of the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. But with the whole world watching, Simone made the bold decision to withdraw from several major events due to mental health concerns. She wasn't injured. She hadn't lost her edge, but she knew continuing in that mental state could put her in danger. She chose to step back. She chose to protect her mind, even if it meant giving up medals. And when the cameras turned to her, she didn't make excuses. She didn't ask for sympathy. She simply said, "I'm human before I'm an athlete." Simone's decision is a living embodiment of Stoic philosophy. Focus on doing what's right, not on chasing a perfect result. She didn't need a medal to prove her worth. Her choice said it all. The same applies to your life. You can prepare carefully for an interview and still get rejected. You can love with all your heart and still get left beat, and you can live with kindness and life can still be harsh. But don't let that make you bitter. Don't let what's out of your hands steal the stability of your mind. The one thing you always have full control over is your own actions. How you respond, whether you keep going. Letting go of results is not surrender, it's freedom. When you live by that principle, you'll realize this: no matter how the wind changes, you still hold the wheel. And sometimes the outcome turns out even better than you imagined, simply because you didn't give up. Have you ever faced a moment where things didn't go your way, but you still felt yourself grow? Share it in the comments so others know they're not alone on this path. 5. Not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. In a moment of profound reflection, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people but care more about their opinion than our own." That quote, seemingly simple, strikes at a painful truth most of us try to avoid. We live too much for the eyes of others and too little for the values within ourselves. You don't need everyone's approval. That might sound counterintuitive because we all want to be accepted, to be liked, to be understood. But here's the truth: if you live honestly enough, if you stay true to your beliefs and values, there will always be people who dislike that, and that's not your problem. Look at history. Galileo Galilei was condemned by society in his time for daring to believe the earth revolved around the sun. He wasn't just mocked, he was tried, threatened, and silenced. But he didn't abandon the truth because he understood the consensus of the crowd does not create truth. Only the courage to stand by it does. If Galileo had chosen silence just to get along, science might have been held back an entire century. The lesson here is this: don't lose yourself chasing approval. You can adjust your actions out of respect for others, but don't adjust your core values just to be liked. Because if the love you receive is for a distorted version of who you are, then that love was never truly meant for you. There will be times you feel alone. You may wonder, am I wrong if the whole world disagrees with me? But remember, no one understands your journey better than you. They're not in your mind. They don't feel the silent battles you fight every single day. And most importantly, they won't bear the consequences of you abandoning yourself. Only you will. When you dare to live in alignment with your true self, you don't just free your mind, you give others permission to do the same. You may not be understood by everyone, but you'll earn your own respect. And that's the foundation of real peace. We've reached the halfway point of this journey. If you're still here, I offer you my sincere thanks. Thank you for your patience, for your willingness to hear truths that aren't always easy, and for the courage it takes to look inward. Ahead of us lies the deepest part, where loss, pain, and adversity are no longer avoided, but faced and transformed into strength. If you've found value in this journey, stay with it till the end, and leave a comment with 4 words. I choose the truth. There's still so much more for us to uncover together. 6. Pain is a great teacher. No one wishes for pain. We grow up hoping that if we live right, do the right things, then life will be gentle and fair. But reality teaches us a different lesson. Pain doesn't discriminate, and justice doesn't always arrive on time. Still, what Stoic philosophy emphasizes is not the avoidance of suffering, but learning from it. Seneca once wrote, Difficulties strengthen the mind just as labor strengthens the body, just as muscles only grow by pushing past their limits. The mind truly matures when tested by falls, losses, and adversity. Stoicism doesn't romanticize suffering, but it doesn't run from it either. Pain, in the eyes of a Stoic, is the clearest mirror of the self. In pain, illusions collapse. We can no longer hide our weakness nor cling to reputation or material things. What's left is us bare, honest, and forced to choose, surrender, or grow. But not everyone makes it through. Only when you accept suffering as an unavoidable part of life's journey can you begin to extract meaning from it. Wounds, if left to bleed endlessly, will turn you bitter. But if you look at them with clarity, you'll see they are the marks of someone who has lived, endured, and learned. Frida Kahlo did not live an easy life. At 18, a severe bus accident shattered her spine, pelvis, and left her with dozens of other serious injuries. From then on, she lived almost constantly in physical pain. But instead of collapsing into despair, Frida chose to converse with her pain through color and canvas. In her long months bedridden, she painted herself with scars, with tears, with raw conflict. Frida's paintings weren't beautiful in the classical sense, but they were so honest that people couldn't look away. She didn't try to escape the pain. She documented it, lived with it, and turned it into a declaration. Frida wasn't a victim of fate. She was proof that if you can't escape the pain, let it be the thing that makes you immortal. Stoicism doesn't demand that you be unfailing. It demands that you use the pain to become the deepest version of yourself. Don't let pain define you. You are the one who decides what your story means. Pain is real. Hurt is real. But if you can stand up, learn, and keep living with a heart that stays kind, then you've already won. In the end, don't fear the pain. What you should fear is learning nothing from it. Because the more you avoid it, the weaker you become. But if you dare to face it, you'll see pain is not the enemy. It is the silent, stern teacher with the power to transform. And the lessons it gives you will stay with you for life. 7. No discipline, no freedom. Everyone says they want freedom. The freedom to do what they love, live how they want, and not be bound by others or society. But here's what few people realize. Real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not being held back by yourself. And the only thing that can get you there is discipline. In Stoic philosophy, freedom is not about indulgence. Epictetus was once a slave, yet he became one of the freest people in history because he mastered his own mind. On the flip side, you can live in the modern world, have countless choices at your fingertips, and still be imprisoned by your own weakness, procrastination, and lack of control. Take something as simple as your phone. You can open it any time, scroll TikTok, play games, answer messages, and waste hours with no one stopping you. But ask yourself, is that really freedom or just dependency dressed up as doing what I want? Someone who can't put their phone down when it's time to work, rest, or truly connect with others. That person isn't free. They're a slave to their impulses and lack of discipline. Stoic philosophy reminds you of one crucial thing. To live rationally, you must learn to govern yourself. Discipline isn't punishment. It's the way you build life you actually want. A healthy body, a clear mind, financial stability, and meaningful relationships. If you think discipline is restrictive, think again. Because the freedom you have today without self-control will soon turn into chaos. The freedom to eat anything leads to hospitals. The freedom to spend carelessly leads to debt. The freedom to procrastinate and avoid leads to a life you won't even want to live in. True freedom comes from being able to say no to yourself when it matters. It comes from choosing the hard thing today to earn the better thing tomorrow. And discipline, though uncomfortable at first, is the foundation that lets you build a strong, intentional, meaningful life you actually control. What do you think about this? Do you feel truly free or just believe you are? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. 8. Don't wait for inspiration. Take action. Marcus Aurelius, a great emperor and Stoic philosopher, began each morning writing reminders to himself. Get up, do your part, live as a rational human being. He didn't write to impress, hadn't write for entertainment. He wrote to take action. No hesitation, no waiting for inspiration, no excuses like not in the mood today. He understood something many of us have forgotten. Emotions are not the compass. Action is what shapes your life. We live in an age that glorifies inspiration. Social media tells us we need to feel ready to wait for motivation before we start anything. But Stoic philosophy doesn't care about fleeting inspiration. It tells you plainly, you don't need to feel ready, you just need to begin. Inspiration comes later once you're in motion in the dirt, having pushed through those first minutes of resistance. Action in the Stoic mindset is not the result of emotion. It's a rational choice. You act not because you feel like it in the moment, but because you know it's the right thing to do. Feelings rise and fall, motivation comes and goes, but habits, discipline, and consistency, those are what carry you where you need to go. Here's the truth. If you're waiting for the day you feel ready, that day won't come. Not because I are weak, but because humans are wired to avoid effort. Your brain craves comfort, delay, and inertia, but you by your will can overcome that. And you don't need to do anything huge right away. Just start one small step, one concrete action. Repeat it. That's how the Stoic acts, not with flash but with endurance. Imagine you are the guard of your own mind. Each morning you rise, put on the armor of discipline, take up the weapon of initiative, and begin your day. You don't ask, do I feel inspired today? You ask, what is the right thing to do today? That's the difference between living by emotion and living by reason. You don't need to feel great to do what's right. In fact, it's doing what's right, especially when you don't feel like it, that makes you dependable, strong, and free. That's one of the hard truths of Stoicism. No one is coming to lift you up. You have to walk on your own. Action creates motivation. Action builds momentum. Action repeated daily is what breaks you out of procrastination, pushes you past fear, and helps you build a meaningful life. You don't wait for the right feeling to act. You act and the right feelings will come. Start, don't wait another second. 9. You are not a victim. You choose your response. Loss, betrayal, injustice. The world often seems tilted toward the privileged and abandons those who are simply trying to live right. In those moments, it's easy to believe we're victims, that all we can do is grit our teeth and endure. But that's not the truth, or rather it's the truth you need to let go of. Stoicism, the philosophy of those who live in the storm, doesn't any pain or injustice, but it refuses to let us escape responsibility for our own minds. As Viktor Frankl once wrote, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. You don't control everything that happens to you, but you always control how you respond. And that response, not the circumstance, defines who you are. Think of Alan, born with an imperfect body, but living an extraordinary life. He never let his disability define him, and never blamed, never begged for pity. He learned, he worked, he inspired. His success didn't come from ease. It came from one decision, not to give up. That's the Stoic spirit. Asking for no favors, waiting on no luck, just owning your response to hardship. You don't need to be a philosopher to understand this. Every day you face dozens of situations that could make you angry, discouraged, or ready to quit. A harsh word, someone walking away, failure you didn't deserve. Those things don't define you. Your reaction does. You can let yourself spiral in bitterness, or you can stand up and ask, what can I learn from this? How will I choose to respond? The problem isn't emotion. Emotion is natural, but when you let emotion dictate your actions, you give up your deepest freedom, the freedom to be in charge of yourself. Stoicism doesn't ask you to shut down your feelings, it asks you to see them clearly, then respond in a way that honors your values. And once you start viewing life through that lens, you're no longer being pushed around by your circumstances. You're the one steering. Maybe you didn't choose the boat, but you chose the direction. No matter how violent the sea, you can still hold the wheel. The truth is, you are not a victim. And you never were unless you decide to see yourself that way. It's time to stop asking why me and start asking what will I do with this? Because the answer to that question, that is you, 10. Everything passes. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of impermanence is more than a reminder of life's constant change. It is the key to inner freedom. Nothing lasts forever. No joy is eternal. No sorrow is permanent. Everything, emotions, people, moments, even ourselves, is slipping through time, constantly shifting. But it's because we forget this truth that we so easily fall apart. When we are happy, we try to cling to it as if it will never end, and when it leaves, we feel broken and bitter. When we face loss or pain, we fear it will crush us forever, and we retreat or let it erode who we are. But the truth is this: everything will pass, and it's that understanding, not holding, that sets us free. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher, endured a pain that anyone would dread: the loss of his beloved wife and child. This was no small wound. It was the kind of loss that could bring anyone to their knees. But he didn't scream at the sky. He didn't curse fate. He didn't collapse in bitterness. He refused to let grief override his reason. Instead, he kept doing what was right. He upheld his duties. He led an empire. He continued to write reflections that would help people even thousands of years later understand what inner strength truly means. He wasn't unfailing. He was rational. And that is what Stoicism is about. Not denying emotions, but not letting emotions rule you. Accept reality. Don't complain. Don't give in. It's not coldness. It's the deepest strength a human being can reach. Impermanence doesn't mean you stop caring or loving. Quite the opposite. When you realize every moment is finite, you begin to cherish it more deeply. A simple conversation, a quiet afternoon, a glance from someone you love. When you that anything could vanish tomorrow, you'll learn how to live fully today. Not rushed, not consumed, but awake enough to love and grounded enough to let go when the time comes. So if you're in pain, remember that feeling will pass. If you're happy, cherish it because it won't stay forever. Don't get too attached. Don't fall into despair. Live in balance. That's not indifference. That's real strength. A strength that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove itself. Just enough awareness to stay steady through life's storms. Everything will pass, and if you can hold on to that truth, you'll feel lighter, clearer, and freer than ever before. The truth isn't always easy to hear, but today, you've heard 10 truths that Stoic philosophy wants you to face. That no one owes you anything, that you are responsible for your own emotions, that death is closer than you think. You don't control the outcome, only your actions. Not everyone will understand you, and that's completely okay. Pain is a great teacher, and discipline is the gateway to freedom. You don't need to wait for motivation. You just need to start. You're not a victim. You're the one who chooses. And finally, everything will pass. Each one of these truths might feel uncomfortable, but if you're brave enough to face them, they can become the very strength that drives your transformation. So, out of these 10 truths, which one hit you the hardest? Which one have you been trying to avoid? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all. If this video sparks something in you, hit like to spread the message. Share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Watch the video that's appearing on your screen right now. It might just be the next lesson you need on your journey toward inner freedom. These 10 Stoic truths are not meant to comfort you. They are meant to challenge you, to sharpen your mind, to ignite transformation. They ask you to surrender the illusions of control, entitlement, and eternal happiness, and in turn, offer you the deepest kind of power, clarity.com, and control over yourself. When you embrace the fact that no one owes you anything, that pain teaches, death awakens, and discipline frees you, stop being a victim of life and become its master. The journey is not easy, but it is yours. And every day you choose truth over illusion, action over comfort, and resilience over excuses. You rise, live these truths, and you will never be the same.